Hi everyone, this is Pause and Effect. I'm your host CJ, and here's everything that happened during the July 2023 Limited Run Games Showcase, sequenced in order of personal interest. Everything that was announced was buzzworthy, but if I do things in order of announcement, there will clearly be dead parts in this script, so I'm doing this my way for your benefit and my ever-dwindling sanity. Jokes aside, here we go. We're starting with Way Forward here, who came out the woodwork with 3 announcements. One of their upcoming projects is a previously cancelled Shantae game for Game Boy Advance known as Shantae Advance Risky Revolution. The game will be coming to Game Boy Advance as a physical cartridge sometime in 2024 and will feature 4-player support through the use of a link cable. No word yet, however, on whether or not it will come to PC or modern consoles. Way Forward is also working with Nigoro, otherwise known as the La Mulana devs, to bring the Rose and Camellia collection to Switch both physically and digitally. For those that don't know what these games are, don't worry, I didn't either. These games started as flash games in the early 2000s featuring debutante women getting into slap battles, and yes, that is indeed a plural statement, over who is to receive a royal inheritance. This collection features 5 games, including the first 2 games in the franchise, a crossover with La Mulana, and a 3rd and 4th game that were previously unreleased before this collection. There's no release date yet, but Way Forward's website pins this as a late 2023 to early 2024 release. Way Forward ended the limited run show announcing that they are working alongside Capcom on a remaster of the original Clock Tower game, which previously released on Super Famicom, PS1, WonderSwan, and PC only in Japan. Way Forward will be using Limited Run's Carbon engine to make porting the game to modern consoles possible, and they did announce that some new elements would be added, the details of which you can find on their website. Clock Tower will be re-released on Steam, Switch, PS5, PS4, and Xbox in early 2024. Now we're getting into my most hype announcement. Limited Run, in collaboration with Whoopee Camp, announced that Tomba, an old PS1 platformer that released in 1997 in Japan and 1998 worldwide, is getting a remaster. The game is being remastered and ported to Steam, Switch, PS4, and PS5, both physically and digitally, with this being made possible thanks to the Carbon engine. The series' original director, Tokuro Fujiwara, is returning to direct the remaster, and the game's original composer, Harumi Fujita, is returning to create new music for the game. No release window was given, but we were told to look forward to it. As a personal aside, I'm so happy this game is getting a remaster. Tomba was one of my favorite PS1 games of all time when I was a kid, and seeing it gain new life for modern consoles was something I could have only ever dreamed of. I hope this opens the door to Tomba 2 getting remastered and maybe the possibility of Tomba 3 getting made. I've only been waiting 2.5 decades for that to happen after all. But seriously, go play this when it releases, and you can bet I'm doing a playthrough on my channel of this game one way or another. Anyway, another hype announcement, at least for me, was that Gex Trilogy is officially happening. Through the Carbon engine, all 3 Gex games are coming to modern consoles. The trilogy will release physically and digitally on Steam, Switch, PS4, PS5, and Xbox Series X, and will include the original Gex, Gex Enter the Gecko, and Gex 3 Deep Cover Gecko. No word on whether or not the Game Boy versions of these games are coming in the remaster or what the release date of this will be, but personally, I can be patient. 2 quick asides here. One, if you were to ask if Dana Gould was returning to voice Gex in the remaster, I wouldn't be able to tell you the answer, but I'm not 100% convinced that his voice was used in the trailer. We'll see. Also, I thought Square Enix sold this IP when they sold Crystal Dynamics to Embracer Group, so why are they credited here? Did they keep the Gex IP and just not tell anyone? Yeah, that's probably what happened. I'm jumping around a lot, but bear with me. Limited Run opened their show with Castlevania Advance Collection getting a physical copy announcement. The physical copy will be sold on Switch, PS4, and Xbox One, and purchasers will have the option to choose one of 4 slipcovers for the game, featuring either Circle of the Moon, Dracula X, Harmony of Dissonance, or Aria of Sorrow. Pre-orders go live next week, so if this is something you want, then get to it. The older Jurassic Park games are getting a re-up in the Jurassic Park Classic Games collection for Switch, PS4, PS5, Xbox, and Steam. The bundle is set to include 8-bit and 16-bit Jurassic Park games, and a few were teased with the prospect of more coming. I don't know about you guys, but if this game doesn't come with a copy of the 1993 Jurassic Park arcade game, I am not interested. Granted, that game has as much of a chance of getting ported to modern consoles as any of the House of the Dead games do. No, I'm not salty that all of these games are locked behind defunct arcade cabinets and dead consoles. I don't know what you're talking about. Okay, I'm cool. But hey, Limited Run, if you're out there, please take what I said into consideration. Anyway, a number of brand new games were announced, one of which being Arzette, the Jewel of Faramore, that is, for better or for worse, a spiritual successor to the Zelda CDI games. The game is a solo development effort by an indie dev named Dopply, whose Twitter handle is @thedopster. The game touts cutscene visuals and a gameplay style directly reminiscent of the CDI Zelda games, and will be releasing sometime this year for Switch, PS4, PS5, Xbox, and Steam, digitally and physically. Similarly, indie developer Right Stick Studios announced their upcoming game, Double Shake, is getting published through Limited Run. It's a PS1 era platformer that takes a lot of inspiration from Tomba, Klonoa, and Mischief Makers, among other games. The game has been in development for some time, but is able to be published thanks to Limited Run. There's no release date yet, but Double Shake will be released on Switch, PS4, and PS5. Possibly Steam as well, but who knows. Dragon Vein Studios would also announce that their upcoming isometric turn-based RPG, Another Crusade, is getting digital and physical releases on Steam, Switch, Xbox, and PS5, with a September 2023 release window. A demo for this game is currently available on GameJolt, and at first glance it appears to take a number of gameplay cues from Super Mario RPG based on the trailer alone. So that should be exciting to those anticipating the remake and wanting to play something similar beforehand. A number of other games were announced to be getting physical editions, so I'll just rattle them off real quick. El Shaddai Ascension of the Metatron is getting an HD physical edition solely for the Switch. The game can currently be played on Steam too, if that floats your boat. Dungeons of Aether, which is a dungeon crawling spin-off of Rivals of Aether, is getting a physical release for Switch, with pre-orders opening on Friday, July 14th. Chicory, A Colorful Tale, is getting a physical release for PS4, PS5, and Switch coming up very soon. This Way Madness Lies, which released on Steam a year ago, is being released digitally for Switch on July 25th, with both a PS5 port and a physical Switch cartridge being released eventually. Komajo Remilia Scarlet Symphony, which is an action side-scroller by Toho Project, is getting remastered for modern consoles and will release physically on the Switch, at least for now. Rise of the Triad Ludicrous Edition will be getting physical releases for Switch, Xbox, PS4, and PS5. The game is also coming digitally to Steam as well. The Kyukyoku Tiger Heli Collection is getting a physical release to both PS4 and the Switch. Roller Coaster Tycoon 3 Complete Edition is getting a physical release on the Switch. Odin Cat's Paradise Collection, which includes the two games Bear's Restaurant and Fishing Paradiso, is getting a physical release for Switch. Two versions are available for pre-order right now. One has just the game, and the other has the game and the soundtrack on a disc. Midnight Fight Express, which is currently available on Steam, is getting a physical version to both PS4 and Switch. Colossal Cave, which is an old point-and-click adventure title, is getting a physical and digital release on Steam, Switch, PS4, and PS5. Disney's Gargoyles Remastered was given a fall 2023 release window and a confirmed physical release for Xbox, PS4, PS5, and Switch. The original soundtracks for the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle games will be getting monthly physical releases every month until 2024. Purchasers will have the option of pre-ordering the soundtracks for either CD, vinyl, or cassette tape. And some soundtracks will give players the option to select between the console and arcade versions of the soundtracks. Last but not least, Plumbers Don't Wear Ties, an old comedy adventure title, is getting a definitive edition remaster with newer elements for modern platforms with a fall 2023 release window. The game will release digitally and physically on Steam, Xbox, Switch, PS4, and PS5. And there we go. That's every announcement from the Limited Run Showcase. But guess what? We're not done yet. There's a few inconsistencies from the presentation that I thought I'd take the time to point out. I brought this up a few times early on, and I'm sure you guys are asking yourselves, what is the Carbon Engine? Is it commercially available? Can I make something with it? Well, a quick search shows that Carbon Engine is Limited Run's proprietary engine that they use to future-proof retro games for modern consoles and platforms. Two games published using the engine are the original Shantae Game Boy Color game for modern consoles and the original River City Girls Zero Super Famicom game for modern consoles. The engine touts compatibility with NES, SNES, Sega Genesis, Game Gear, Sega CD, Master System, PlayStation, Game Boy Color, original Game Boy, and Game Boy Advance titles. I admit that it seems this page hasn't been updated since the announcement of Gex Trilogy and Tomba, but that's beside the point. Will the engine become commercially available? I'm not sure, but this link on the page pops up an email client to send LRG an email about the engine. I sent them a message to ask them whether or not this engine could be used to make games as opposed to emulate games, and while I did get a response, I was also notified that disclosing the content of the email could be considered unlawful, so I will refrain from sharing the actual message I received. Lastly, there were a couple shots in the trailer for the Shantae GBA title where the game was being played using an unfamiliar device. Apparently, this device is called the Analog Pocket, and its page on Analog's website touts it to be a number of different things. This is not paid product placement, as I was learning all this as I was writing the script, so please bear with me. Analog Pocket is a portable console touted as being able to play Game Boy, Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance, Game Gear, Neo Geo Pocket Color, and Atari Lynx games using their original cartridges with no emulation, the latter three of which requiring special adapters to play them. The console also touts a built-in digital audio workstation or DAW called NanoLoop that can interface with MIDI controllers. Alternatively, you can use the Pocket as a MIDI controller for any DAW that enables it. Pocket also features a sleep mode for any game running on it, original displays for every game that can be played on it, a dock that allows players to connect it to a computer and play portable games on their PC, compatibility for local multiplayer with link cable ports. Players can use original Game Boy link cables for multiplayer, or they can use a cable that comes bundled with the console. And lastly, the console holds compatibility with any game made in GB Studio. A black and a white version of the Pocket are available for pre-order on Analog's website, retailing for $220. This bundle only comes with the console and the link cable, with no word on what other accessories are coming with it, and whether or not they will be sold separately. But if this is something that you're interested in having for yourself, then all I can say is to use your best judgment for buying this sort of thing. And that's everything major that happened with the limited run showcase. Make sure you consider liking, commenting, and subscribing, and I'll see you on the next analysis. Take care, and have a good one.